Welcome back everybody to the third Umineko Tea Party. It's Lorelei and I hope you're all well rested and ready to tackle a new game board. But before that, let's discuss the events of episode 3 thus far. Episode 3 gave us a much needed glimpse into the minds of the adults, which we didn't really get before in episode 1 and 2, especially Eva here, who ultimately found a home of the gold and all its treasure. This episode really brought us deep into Eva's mind and heart, and we learned about her insecurities, her motivations for her rough and cold exterior when it comes to her siblings, and also the extent of her love for her husband and son, which to me, I think is boundless. I don't really like Eva, but one thing I can say definitely is that she's a strong woman who's been through hell under the Ushinomiya family and made it out alive. And despite how much I don't like her as a person, I think I can admire her as a character. She is really well written and strongly voiced, and her struggles as a woman in a patriarchal society is one that I think many can relate to, especially for those in a conservative society as much of Asia still is today. It resonates with me personally as someone who's grown up in such an environment. So in this regard, Eva really, truly has a dear place in my heart, and I will root for her. I just draw the line at murder. Anyway, that's all for the characters I wanted to highlight this episode. Let's talk a bit about magic. So, I know many of you brought up the bronze tubes, but I still don't understand. The only thing I know how to do is cook and cope. But based on Virgilia's hints, it seems like there is a logical scientific explanation for all of magic. When Virgilia talks about the bronze tubes, she's actually telling us that if Battler can confidently deny the existence of gremlins using magic to turn on the television without ever seeing it with his own eyes, then he should be able to do so with magic, right? I think more than that, she's saying that when Beatrice tells us what is happening or shows us the game board, we know it's all filtered through her magic theory, but there is a scientific explanation for all of it. Right now, we are in the world right before we can check the bronze tube. Both Beatrice's magic and Battler's science can exist simultaneously, and one day I will come out and tell you with absolute certainty that magic doesn't exist. That day is just not today. But anyway, I suppose that this means that we can say when Rudolph fights Belphegor, for example, that Belphegor isn't really there, but she seems there because of our magic filtered view. In reality, there's actually two humans fighting. This also means when Virgilia fights Beatrice, there was never any amazing structures coming from the ground or the sky. If this is what Virgilia means to say, then I feel a sense of relief that I'm not going insane. But in conclusion, magic fake, science real. Now let's look at the locked rooms. This time, I think there were only the first 6 locked rooms that we have to solve. Thinking about it now, it's interesting that there was very little emphasis on Beatrice getting Battler to submit to her through the use of the locked rooms. After all, it's only in the first 6 deaths that we see the use of locked rooms. The writ truths state that we can't slip keys under doors, which I find actually pretty hard to believe. And there are 5 master keys, 1 on each servant. The doors and windows are locked as per usual, although it's not stated in red that the windows can't be unlocked from the outside. But I think I will just assume that it follows Beatrice's locked room definition. No one was hiding, no one was killed by a trap, and no one committed suicide. I think that this 6 locked rooms becomes a simple one-room locked room mystery once we understand that it all hinges on one room. The 5 other rooms, honestly, I think, can be easily locked with the room key from the room after it, meaning that the real question is how the last room was locked with the corpse inside it. I'll go with Kinzo as the final room in this because of the fact that he was burned in the incinerator. I'll be honest, I still can't solve this and give a confident answer, but what if the culprit was working with an accomplice, huh? And that accomplice was... That's right, you guessed it, Kinzo. In this scenario, Kinzo would lock the room, leave the ladder, and climb into the incinerator. But okay, Kinzo was supposed to die instantly, so he couldn't have been burned to death, since that might take a while. Plus, it can't be suicide. There are no traps, no hidden mechanisms, no accidental deaths, so what if someone strapped a bomb onto him and told him to burn himself to get rid of the evidence? Would Kinzo do it? I don't know, but he could have. Is this still considered homicide? I don't know, but that's all I could cook up here. Anyway, if someone told you to die, thrusted you a gun, is it still suicide? Or is it murder? Much to think about. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if this is considered suicide still. Anyway, let's talk a bit about George's death. I think it was suicide. He probably couldn't bear the pain of losing Shannon, especially not after Battler planted that thought in him. But if not, it could also be the killer that started the first Twilight, since the method of killing is the same through using a gun or a spear-shaped object. And, well, to be honest, I'm not really sure how either of those weapons can be confused, because a gun shoots bullets, right? So, Nanjo didn't recognize his culprit. Well, me too. It could be Rudolph, since his head would likely be disfigured from the stabbing to his forehead, but I'm not sure why he would kill Nanjo. Maybe he thinks or knows that Nanjo is an accomplice and wants to protect Battler? There are also some notable inconsistencies I'd like to address. When Battler and the rest examined Jessica's parents' bodies, he mentioned that they found a stake sticking out of his parents' forehead and chest. Wasn't Kiria supposed to be killed with a stake to the stomach? Before that, Evatrice told Hideyoshi that she'll swap the sixth Twilight to him, meaning that it should be Hideyoshi with the stabbed stomach. Instead, we find Kiria with the stake to the stomach and Hideyoshi with the stake to his chest. Could Eva have relayed her instructions to an accomplice who messed things up? Let's talk a bit about the possible culprits. I just think that there are two killers, at least. The one that started the first 6 murders, which I will call Killer A, and the one that finished the Epitaph, meaning Eva. I say this because it seems that there are 2 distinct ways the murders were carried out. One with the gun or spear-shaped object, plus the creepy symbols and the locked rooms, and the other which was just anything goes as long as you're dead with stakes in them. The one that started the killings, Killer A, seems to have a flair for theatrics. What with putting Kumasawa in the room she secretly likes to nap in, Shannon in the parlor for the rose garden, and Shannon in the chapel, there's a lot of meaning to their actions. Kinzo being in the incinerator probably has a meaning too. Maybe he's so trashy he deserves to be burned like the garbage he is. Am I being too mean? I don't think so. You can probably never be too mean to Kinzo. If George was killed by this same person, then I think it's also reasonable to assume he was placed in a parlor to show a scene where 2 lovers reunite after death. We don't find any more magic circles, but we do find numbers on the door, and this adds to my theory that it is indeed done by the same person. Anyway, this number is the perfect segue to 07151129. Just what is it? Well, I did some crack cooking here, and it might be interesting, but I think it's wrong. I feel like I'm very wrong. But 07151129? No, it's not days. I think it was hours. Right, so I converted it to hours. And I feel like I'm putting on my tinfoil hat. I feel like I'm just creating conspiracy theories and connecting the dots. But like, it's 1986! I'm cooking! Exactly! I'm cooking right now! It's 1986, 25th April. And what happened on 25th April? Nothing. I don't know what happened on 25th April. But tell me that's not a crazy coincidence. Right, it is so interesting. I just couldn't figure out what the number meant. So I was just trying all sorts of different combinations and you led me to this. But anyway, I have a feeling this is absolutely wrong, and exactly, it's just a correct theory. Nothing nothing very well thought out. But anyway, this is interesting. I'm definitely gonna talk about it in my video. But anyway, Valor says that it's reasonable to assume it's a date, but I can't think of anything either. I'm inclined to agree with him though, because the 0 in the beginning of the number seems to serve a purpose. I did also think that it could be the password or combination to a safe, and maybe that's why it's called a small golden land, because, you know, a golden land is the big one, the room and the gold, but the safe would be a small version of that. Anyway, let's recap. The first 6 Jeff and George was done by Killer A. Rosa, Maria, Natsuhi, Kraus, Kirie, Rudolph, and ultimately Battler was done by Eva. Sanjo was possibly killed by Rudolph. And the only one left accounted for is Jessica, since she supposedly went missing. And don't ask me why or how she got into the parlor. I don't know, but maybe if Rudolph still had energy left in him and he wanted to help Jessica out, maybe he guided her there to safety and then died. Anyway, I don't know who Killer A is. I have no clue. I can't even begin to speculate. If there's no 19th person to push the blame to, then it's obviously one of the 18. But that's it for me with the culprits. Let's talk a bit about the epitaph at last. I don't know. I still can't solve the epitaph. Okay, but in all seriousness, I think we know. Certainly a map is needed to determine the answer, so we can assume it's somewhat related to geography, and I think that there is a difference between what the epitaph calls the golden land and what it calls the home of the gold, because, I mean, there is a difference, so I think it's on purpose. They're not the same, right? I also still stand by that the reverse refers to something going up or down, and yeah, that's it. I can't solve the epitaph, that's all I got. As for the tier list, let's finally get into the tier list. I would like to retroactively change my tier for Hideyoshi. I think that he's an asshole for helping Eva, but rereading certain parts of the novel makes it seem that Eva didn't tell Hideyoshi everything, and he certainly didn't approve of Eva's murders. So there's that. I'm gonna move him from asshole to not asshole. Anyway, this is the tier list that we were left off with. We have the unforgivable tier, the asshole tier, not asshole, and my no comment tier. We're gonna do more than just this tier list because I've heard your request. We can do favorite character tier list and episode tier list. Let's start with the unforgivable tier. Kinzo and Rosa. I think I'm not gonna change any of them really because, I mean, honestly Kinzo hasn't really been appearing, but he is pretty shitty guy, so I'm gonna leave him in unforgivable. Counter argument. If evil, why hot? Sorry, who's out here saying Kinzo is hot? Come on, defend yourself. Kinzo is unforgivable. I'm not gonna change anything about him. He's gonna stay up there because we all know Kinzo is a horrible person and he might get worse. I think in episode 3 he already got worse though because of the whole trapping Beatrice thing. But anyway, Kinzo is gonna stay up there. He's gonna be still in unforgivable. Next up we have Rosa. Rosa is gonna continue being in the unforgivable tier. I think it's not a question of who's gonna move down from that, but who's gonna move up to unforgivable. So let's move on to our second tier, the asshole tier. So anyway, with the asshole tier, I had Kraus here. I don't think I'm gonna move Kraus because I mean honestly in episode 3 he kind of did show some character development in that final moment of his life. It was pretty good of him, very nice of him, I'm gonna say, but I think he's overall still kind of an ass for just treating the way he treats Natsuhi as well as everything he's done to his siblings is pretty bad, but it's not unforgivable. I don't think so. So Kraus is gonna stay in the asshole tier. Next we have Eva. Now I think Eva is interesting because she's a murderer now. She's like confirmed murderer. I think Eva is gonna stay in asshole. I'm just wondering. I don't know if she is unforgivable. She did kill Battler. But anyway, I think Eva is kind of in that in-between category of unforgivable and asshole. Next, we have Rudolph. I know I put Rudolph up here, and I can't remember why exactly I put Rudolph up there, but I think I put him there because of Rosa's tea party scene where she was talking about how Rudolph treated her. But then again, we also don't really know how true that is. It could just be, you know, all in your head, all just fictitious, and well, Rosa is Rosa, so I don't know. But you know, I don't think I want to keep Rudolph in asshole. I feel like I want to move him down to not asshole because he just hasn't done a lot. He didn't do a lot of asshole-y thing. He didn't murder anyone, I think. So I'm gonna move him down. I put Beatrice in asshole. She's gonna stay in asshole. Do I need to say more? She betrayed me. Do I need to say more? No. Let's start with Lucifer. Lucifer, actually, I think we saw quite a bit of Lucifer and Belphegor this episode. When, like, even though Lucifer is the oldest sister, she sometimes isn't very reliable, and she gets made fun of by her younger sisters. And let's not forget, I think it was episode 2, or was it the start of episode 3, where she was basically forced to submit to her other sisters, something like that. Lucifer is such a poor thing. I feel kind of bad for her, and it seems like she tries her best, but sometimes things don't really go her way. So, is she an asshole? I think she still is an asshole though, just purely because she killed Valor, probably. Lucifer, done keeping her here. The other 4, I didn't really see much of them, so I'm gonna keep them here as well. They are assholes by proxy. And Leviathan and Belphegor we saw more of because of their fights with Rudolph and Kyrie. And I think that Leviathan is still gonna be an asshole. She fought, but I don't think I really saw a lot of, you know, character development kind of stuff going on. So maybe I'll keep her an asshole. The only thing I remember about Leviathan is I think she's always crying about the sisters not giving her a chance, something like that. Anyway, Leviathan gonna be there, but Belphegor, oh come on, Belphegor, is Belphegor an asshole? She's not an asshole, everyone. Congratulations. But Belphegor is definitely one of the better sisters, probably arguably the best sister. Lorelei more like rigged and lie. Hey, I'm not lying. I didn't rig anything. This is a perfectly reasonable answer. Belphegor simp stream. This is not a simp stream. I didn't simp for Belphegor. You didn't see me simp for Belphegor. Like I didn't see you guys simp for Kinzo. Shall we continue? In the not asshole category? It's the biggest one, but actually I was thinking that the not asshole category is too big. I think we need more people in asshole because I think there's a lot of assholes in Umineko. So I know a lot of people are unhappy with me putting Natsuhi here. Okay, no one said that. Natsuhi, I'm just personally biased. That's why I think I moved her to not asshole. And like, okay, I think that she has a pretty tragic life living with Kraus. I mean, she's married to Kraus. Need I say more? But that aside, it's true that the way she treats the servants is pretty bad. But I don't know. I think there's just a lot of things about Natsuhi that I really like as a character, and that's why I find it so difficult to think about her objectively. The only bad thing she did that I can think of is her treatment of the servants. Is it forgivable? I mean, is it? Maybe? You know what? Thank you guys. I'm gonna keep Natsuhi in the not asshole tier. Valor is in not asshole. He is pretty good. He tries his best to liven up everyone's mood. I don't think I'm gonna say more in this because we already know Battler is great. If he's an asshole, why is he on the cover art of Umineko? Right? Pretty sure everyone here is on the cover art. Oh, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna draw my own cover art. I mean, no, I didn't say that. Genji is the most not asshole of the not asshole. Genji is pretty self-explanatory also. He's just a great guy. I mean, he spared Canon and Shannon from a horrible death. So, Genji is not asshole. But, okay, Shannon is also not asshole. Shannon is an asshole. Imagine dying after being proposed to. You're right. I can't say anything to that. Shannon is asshole. Done. Is George an asshole? I don't know. Do you think he helped Eva? Could he have helped Eva kill people? Oh, that would be so asshole of him. That would be... That is making me think. If George helped Eva, then George is asshole. But if George didn't help Eva, then George is not asshole. But anyway, I'll keep him not asshole for now. Goda is terrified of ghosts. I think that makes him not an asshole. Hideyoshi is an asshole. He's an asshole. He's an asshole now. He probably likely 100%, 100.999% killed or helped Eva. Guess living in your family is illegal now. If Jessica is a culprit, then she's an asshole. But if she's not, then she is not an asshole? Yes, I'm gonna keep her not asshole. Canon, also not asshole. I feel like I don't really have to say much about them. Kiria is also not an asshole. Maria, not asshole. Kumasawa did become Virgilia, so I'm kind of suspicious of her. I'm gonna keep her not asshole. It's just kind of weird that she became Virgilia. I still don't know what the hell is happening. Nanjo is not an asshole. He tried his best. And Brincastle is also not an asshole. Because she's trying her best to help us. But Goatman, still, I'm gonna have no comment there because they're kind of just like puppets, you know? Lumna is going up. She's an asshole because she was very weird. She has strange... She's scary. I'm gonna keep her an asshole. I'm not gonna explain. Shiester410. She is... Oh, I kind of want to put her not asshole, but I think she kind of is an asshole. She's a good kind of asshole, so I'm gonna put her there. And she is not an asshole. I mean, they killed people, sure, but he's nicer. Evatris is... I think she's here. She's between asshole and unforgivable. She was so cruel towards everyone. Renove is not an asshole, probably. Renove is too great. He really is. He's a special person. Demon Butler. Now we have a special tier list just for Renove. Virgilia 100 out of 10. We love older women. I think Virgilia is... Sorry guys, Virgilia is an asshole. Virgilia A tier? No. Yeah, if A tier meant asshole. You're right that she didn't choose side. Yeah, she helped both Battler and Beatrice, but she helped Beatrice too much. I don't like it. So Virgilia is an asshole for that. If she didn't open her eyes, you would have put her in not asshole. I think I would still put her in asshole. And finally, we have NG. NG is, of course, not asshole. Okay, this is my final verdict. Unforgivable, asshole, not asshole, no comment, and Renove. And let me know if you agree or disagree with this list. But I am not gonna change my mind on this, except for maybe Virgilia.